Hello and welcome back to In Spirit from Joe Kupka. So that's me. It's been a while since I jumped back on to the podcast, but I wanted to take a few minutes today just to kind of check in and share some things that I've been thinking about recently, and maybe they will encourage you too. So, way back, I think my last episode was in June, which is scary. But I was going through this series talking about transition and how to cope with that. I was in a new role that I started in April. Um, you know, Going from working mostly at home, from getting school holidays off in most of the jobs I was doing, to suddenly working in an office 4 days a week, and just all the adjustments that have had to happen through that process. Well, I'm kind of almost 6 months and past 6 months into this role now. It feels less new. It's somewhat more established. The sort of intensity of figuring out new routines and rhythms and all of that kind of thing has slowed down a lot. There may still be some new things to get used to, but on the whole, that intensity's settled. So now I'm in this season of perseverance. And I'm guessing for most of you, that will be the same. We live most of our days in ordinary time. Ordinary days, doing the usual demands, the niggles, the joys, the unexpected moments of everyday life. And in many ways, I'm realizing that this feels foreign to me. To be in this reasonably steady place doesn't quite feel normal yet. I look back over the past few years and just the challenges of the pandemic. I was changing roles quite often, exploring new pathways, pursuing new types of work. And I realized that this muscle of doing just the regular day in, day out, no big changes looming on the horizon, kind of feels weird. And that muscle is a bit weak, needs some work. And I'm trying to retrain my brain that this isn't a short-term sprint anymore. We're in the marathon stage. We're in the long-term bit. So I can actually stop scanning the horizon for a looming change coming. I can stop worrying about all these opportunities that I might be missing. This default of constant pivoting can be reset. Maybe that issue is unique to me, but I suspect there are others. That, we're coming out of this long period of disruption or, lots of transitions all the time, figuring out how to settle again. We're used to functioning at this level of intensity that is not sustainable and yet now feels so normal. And I found myself getting quite frustrated and restless without really a specific reason. And it kind of scared me a little. I started to think, oh, maybe I've made a mistake because taking this role, was it the right thing to do? Then I'm like, but I genuinely love the work I'm doing. I love the people that I get to work with. So what's going on? But thankfully, I know to pause and process rather than react. And as I dug deeper, I recognize this drive to try to prove myself and be productive to show my worth. And I see this false correlation in my mind between high intensity and importance. I have devalued the ordinary days once more as I kind of live out a definition of success that doesn't actually fit with my values. The liturgical calendar, if you're familiar with that at all, is filled with weeks of ordinary time. And I realized that I'm in the season of learning to lead myself well in those ordinary days too. And it's a work in progress, as it always is. But here are a few steps that I'm taking for me that maybe can encourage you as well. So I am redoing the Emotionally Healthy Relationships course. This is part of the Emotionally Healthy Discipleship series by Pete and Jerry Scazzero. Highly recommend. Check it out. But I've actually signed up and I'm the table leader for the round that's currently going on for the School of Emotionally Healthy Leadership here in sort of the Australasia area. And it's allowing me to dig in again to these concepts of slowed down spirituality, loving others well. I can share more about that if you're interested. But I'm also doing things like in my work day, not pushing myself to have to be doing something productive every second, but actually take time to get a cup of tea and chat with some colleagues. It sounds so silly, but I so frequently allow my to-do list to take over and kind of overrule that need to connect with colleagues. And, I always forget that there's so much wealth that comes out of those conversations as well. I've also restarted my midday silence practice. I had let this lapse in the pull to be too productive, but taking those few minutes at lunchtime just to pause, be silent, and pray is so life-giving. It resets my perspective. It sets me back on track again for the rest of the afternoon. And I'm making space for a creative activity with my daughter in the evenings. Now, this doesn't happen every evening, far from it, but I'm allowing margin to allow space for that, and that is so key. But I want to ask you, what is one step that you can take to lead yourself well on these ordinary days? I'd love to hear it. So, please share it with me. So, as we wrap up in this episode, thank you for taking a few moments out of your day to listen, to watch, however you're engaging. I do encourage you to have a think. These ordinary days, the treasures that they hold in the midst of the mundane. What is one step that you are taking? If you want to connect further with me, I'm available on all the social media places. Look for Jo Kupka and you'll find me. So connect. If you haven't subscribed to this podcast, hit that follow button or subscribe wherever you engage with it so that you don't miss anything. I'm attempting to get back into a more regular rhythm. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, go and have a wonderful week full of ordinary days. Take care.